What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to another episode of Ben Builds with Joe. We are here back on the Lagg and we're pushing forward today, guys, on the wing root joint. Now, last episode we went ahead and assembled all the wing root here. We put everything together. We have fixed up some of the seams. So we're going to go ahead and pull off the tape and this wing should be pretty much locked in place. Now we're going to have to go ahead and contend with the seams though, right at the wing root joint. Those are going to be some pretty substantial seams. We've got a lot of work to do on that. So here is the fuselage and wing as it sits right now. And yes, we do have some issues, especially with the right side of the wing root. A lot of work has to be done on that. Everything else looks pretty good. We've got most of the seams squared away. We might have to come back and fix a little bit right here where the wing meets that oil cooler. Other than that, looking pretty sharp. Now, if we go ahead and zoom in here, we can see on the right side, we have a huge gap that we're missing of plastic. That's going to have to be filled, as well as the left side also. Not as big as the right, but still fairly substantial. We also have an opening right here at the wing root that's going to have to be filled. The other side looks decent enough. I'm not too concerned about that. Now here, we're going to have to go ahead and shove in some plastic card, file this down, taper it all in. It's a lot of work, and I'm not very good at this type of work, but we're going to push through and see what we can do. The front chin looks okay, so I'm not too concerned. Here on the top of the nose, I worked a little bit off camera, and we have it more or less ready to be installed. But we need to go ahead and push those gun barrels through. So we're going to do that today and get that all squared away. So let's go ahead and focus here on the wing root. Now there's lots of different ways to go ahead and fill seams. There's putty, there's all sorts of concoctions of different types of plastics and things. We can do a lot of work to fill this seam. What I'm going to try to do is use superglue to go ahead and feed that superglue into the opening and build it up kind of layer by layer so I can sand it down. Now that's probably not the best way to do it, but it's the only way I can think of right now. I don't have anything else. I don't want to use like Mr. Surfacer because that might crack and it's going to take a lot of filling to go ahead and get this all evened out. So like I said, we're just going to try some superglue. I'm using some blue tack tape here to go ahead and create an artificial barrier. I'm hoping that that's enough. Go ahead and allow the superglue to kind of sit in that area just to stay put. I'm not so sure, but let's go ahead and give it a try. Pour a little bit right there on the area and looks like, yeah, it flows nicely. This is really thin superglue. I probably should be using something a little thicker, but that's okay. I need to go ahead and kind of spread it around just a little bit, make sure that it kind of gets in all those little nooks and crannies. Yeah, not too bad. Let's go ahead and do the other side as well. Make sure that's looking sharp. All right, went ahead and poured in our superglue, masked off the other side, got that all squared away. And I'm going to remove the tape here and we'll see how it did. Yeah, I didn't really do a whole lot. That is a big opening. But luckily for us, though, it did kind of fill in the areas beneath it and around the gap between the wing and the wing root. So that should be decent enough. We should be able to then use that as a good basis to build up off of. I think what I'm going to do with this, with the right side is I'm going to go ahead and use some plastic card and we're going to wedge some plastic in there and then go ahead and fair that over with superglue. Let's check the left side though and see how that turned out. Already I can tell that that actually worked not too bad. Let's go ahead and pull off the rest of the tape here with some tweezers. Boy, it's really stuck down there. All right, use the X-Acto knife. Just pop this side up and tweezers. There we go. Pull it right off. I'm going to have to go ahead and kind of recontour both of these areas here at the very trailing edge of the wing root. That's okay. I kind of expected to do that anyway. I wanted to kind of build up a nice layer there so I could work with that and see what I could do. So let's take a little bit of an X-Acto knife here. We're just going to start carving away at this. We're going to have to go ahead and cue up a time lapse though, guys, because honestly, there's a lot of work to do. I think we'll focus on the left side first. That tends to be the easier side, at least for me. Then we'll work over to the right side after the left side is more or less done. We're going to use our jeweler files. We're going to use some sandpaper, X-Acto knives, whatever we've got. We've got to use different grits of sandpaper, probably from like 350 grit all the way up to 2000, just to go ahead and make sure we can really polish it down and smooth all these little creases out. So let's go ahead and cue up that time lapse, get this thing rolling, and fingers crossed, we can get this looking the part. All right, everybody, so we are back, and I have worked extensively on that left side with sandpaper and jeweler files and just filing everything down. We've got a little bit more we need to go ahead and do here on the oil cooler, but that's okay. We're going to move on to the right side now, and this is going to be the major part right here because we have this plastic card we shoved in there. We've also overcoated that with some super glue, so now that's going to be perfect. Now we'll go ahead and file this down, carve it out, taper it down to the rest of the wing root itself so that all matches the left side, and well, see what happens. This area right in here though is going to be some real trouble, so we might have to go ahead and wedge some plastic card in there as well, shave that down, and file it all together. Boy, that took forever, guys. That took a lot of work, but I think we are pretty much, well, we're as good as we can get, to be honest. We went ahead and added a little bit more super glue here and there where we need to go ahead and just fine tune some of the seams. Nothing too crazy. I did actually end up sanding off the front vent up here on the left side and the right side as well, but the left side we've drilled in, and the right side we just kind of drilled in as well because it shows in the picture there's some sort of a vent there that leaks oil, so we have to do something with that. Otherwise, I think the wing roots look pretty decent. We'll know more once we go ahead and hit them with a primer coat. We'll do that next episode, but I think we're going to move our attention over and kind of fine tune up a couple of the seams, make sure those are all just nice and smooth out. I did rescribe the underside of the wing. Just wanted to go ahead and make sure that those lines were nicely cleared up. And because the super glue did kind of run and leak around the different areas, so I wanted to make sure those were nice and crisp. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the front nose though. I want to go ahead and stretch some sprue. This is one of those plastic Q-tips. I want to go ahead and stretch this center section and make some gun shrouds. Go ahead and push those through the front of the nose. Now, most of the pictures I've seen online regarding the Lagg-3, they have very prominent gun tubes that poke out through that nose. So I'm going to go ahead and make these a little bit larger, and I'm going to make sure that they show a little bit more than what we would have, say, on another aircraft. Now, with the gun tubes mostly cut down, we're going to go ahead and shape them and push them through the openings that we drilled out in one of the first episodes. So first off, let's go ahead and glue it down though, make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. This Tamiya extra thin should go ahead and work, I'm hoping. If not, I'll use some super glue, no big deal. Let's go ahead and grab the other one and push that through as well, see how it turns out. All right, a little bit of glue there on that as well. That should lock it into place. And let's go ahead and adjust them slightly. Yeah, there you go. So that's kind of what I'm going for. A little bit of gun shrouds kind of poking out through those openings. All right, we're good. Now let's go ahead and move on to the tail. Now the horizontal stabilizers, we need to go ahead and doctor those up because there are some pretty extensive injection marks right there at the little tab that fits into the fuselage. those have to be fixed up. So just as is, they will not fit. There's no way. We're going to have to do a little bit of surgery on this one. I'll zoom in here for you and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Right here, there's this very large injection mold right here. That has to go. That's keeping it from entering into the fuselage. So I'm going to use my jeweler files, kind of flatten it out a little bit, and I'll use my X-Acto knife. We'll come in and kind of scrape it off too. I want to make sure that it's not going to impede the tail at all. So little X-Acto knife, let's slice that off just a little bit by little bit. I don't want to take too much off because I don't want it loose and falling out. I wanted to make sure it has just enough meat there so it sticks in there and it stays, but not enough to affect where it sits here on the model. So okay, let's go ahead and test fit this out. It looks a little bit better. Might have to take a little bit more off, but I think we're on the right track. Went ahead and did the other side as well, and let's go ahead and fit that together here. A little bit of glue, and I think we should be good to go ahead and install that other side. There we go, push that right on in, and we're going to run a little bead of glue around the outside to make sure that everything is nicely tacked together. Let's go ahead and put one on the bottom side too, just to be on the safe side. There we are. Cool. Let's go ahead and now check how they sit, make sure they're nicely squared up. I'm going to use the front wings there as a guide to make sure everything is lined up, everything running parallel. So I think that's pretty decent. Give a little bit of pressure, make sure it's not going anywhere. Yeah, looking good. Sometimes tails can be really hard to get together, but I think this one, we're going to call it good. Moving right along, everybody, let's go ahead and tackle the front nose. I want to go ahead and install that front cover over the engine. Now I've got those gun tubes in, we're really ready to rock. So let's go ahead and just put a little bit of glue here towards the back of that attachment point. There we are, a little bit more here on the top. And the other side here. We're going to work back to front and we push this down. There we go. Yeah, see, that looked really, really nice. I had to do a lot of work here just to make sure that everything was nicely flattened and everything was perfectly sanded down so everything fits. And well, like I said, the ICM kits take a lot of work, at least this particular one does. Most ICM kits have multiple parts to go ahead and build different variants of the same aircraft. Of course, the problem with that is that sometimes they just don't fit. So you have to be really, really careful. Sand things down, test fit repeatedly, and I think we have a nice balance here. So let's go ahead and just glue this down, make sure that's not going to go anywhere. I think it really matches up, so I'm happy with that. Now we're going to work towards the front of the nose, make sure that everything is nicely glued down. Now the Lagg wasn't known as a really nicely handcrafted aircraft, but I think we have a really good look here. So we're going to push on. Now, when you have to do as much sanding as I've had to do on this, you do end up losing certain parts and pieces here that are molded into the plastic. One of the areas that I need to go ahead and repair is this little shroud that sits right below the antenna. There was a little bit of a raised area there, and I made a replacement disc out of plasticard. And then I think we're good, guys. I think we're going to call it quits for today. I want to make sure everything is nicely dried. I think we did enough work. I'm happy with our end results. So until next episode, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure to drop over to Joe's channel at Mad Genius Productions. Check out his work. It's a great builder, awesome dude, and we'll see you all back here next Monday for another episode of Ben Builds with Joe. Until then, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, have a great week, and we'll see you soon.